It's very exciting, really. It's based on a young Merlin, and the costumes we've tried to keep very sort of young and accessible to a younger audience. It's got quite a modern slant on it. It's basically we've tried to create a whole new world. So when children are watching it, they can identify with the characters. I looked at lots and lots of images and did lots of research and tried to sort of conjure up images that were mixes of all sorts of period images, and then even looking at pre-Raphaelites and modern sort of fashion shoots, really. It's very much working with the characters and then with the actors, and it's very organic, and we build up the character together, really.
Charlotte's, she makes herself accessible to talk over costume ideas, which is very useful.
Well, Arthur, really, he's a prince, so we've got to make him look princely, but not too far removed.
I think she's done a great job with kind of the identity of the show and the identity of all the characters as well. You kind of get a good sense of, what everyone's about pretty quickly, and especially with the knights, like she's had to come up with the task of sort of giving all the knights their own sort of individual identification.
He wears a lot of armour, which is chainmail, and then also he quite often wears this one armour piece which works down the arm. It's actually made of a plastic because it's easier for the actors to move around in. There's a lot of stunts, a lot of fighting. It's still a bit awkward, I mean, if you're not used to wearing this sort of thing, to actually move around in it, but it's a lot easier than actually using, a heavy sort of metal. The chainmail is aluminium, which is much lighter, but it's still quite a weight. I've tried to keep him in a bit more of a relaxed look. He's got various looks according to, what he's doing actually as an action.
When's the last time these were cleaned?
Last year sometime, before the Feast of Beltane.
Did it end in a food fight?
Don't all feast?
This, for instance, is one of his jackets, which is a bit more of a dressed-up jacket, with the studs and, with a studded belt. It's still got quite a modern feel to it. The red, there's a lot of red that features in this show, and that's because it's the colour of Camelot.
Yeah, costume is a huge part of the fun of building a character up, especially with something like this, that you have a hand in the design. I mean, Charlotte is a great designer, really good, and she'll play with colours and textures and materials. And when we were sort of talking through stuff, I suggested a couple of things I'd seen.
Lady Helen of Mora.
It's like little boys dressing up, you get to. It's like when I was a kid, I used to play knights and used to sort of go out in my garden and use a bamboo stick for a sword. But this is fun, and yes, when you get the stuff on and you put the various. It hasn't come out in the story yet, but I had Uther wear gloves because I wanted him to be a bit OCD about magic. He doesn't want to touch anything. He's a bit like Howard Hughes. But it's not dirt in his case. It's magic.
Seize her!
Chainmail is a pain, but it looks really good.
Deciding my fate.
I confess it, sire. I released him and I'll take the consequences. But surely Lancelot's actions change things.
His actions changed nothing. He broke the code.
It's bizarre. You put it on and you just drink it. I couldn't wear it every day. I haven't got chainmail on at the moment, I'm glad to say.
Arise, Sir Lancelot, Knight of Camelot.
The costume's a huge part of it all, I mean, it's especially even in this episode, Lancelot, you see him as more of a kind of maybe a peasant, maybe more, or someone who's come from the countryside who hasn't got the armor, hasn't got the colors, and then even within the episode, putting it all on was something in itself. And then you as an actor as well, putting it on, it just makes you really feel the part and feel part of that world. I don't believe how they did it back in the day though, because ours were made of plastic and they were heavy as well, I mean, that heat. And to think it was it was their dream. It was everyone's goal was to become a knight and to wear those things all day. I still don't understand how they did it.
This is basically my main costume. This is the costume I actually wear in the very first coming into Camelot. This is my favourite costume because it's probably my only one, so it's all right.
I just wanted to create a look that would very much sort of capture him as a character. And I mean, obviously he wouldn't have had many changes anyway. So, and it just feels like straight away one can identify who he is. And he's got a slight sort of modern look to him, but it's individual. There's nobody else really in the show, out for the background extras or anything, who quite looks like him.
To our new recruit, our new Knight of Camelot, Sir Lancelot.
It's been really a fun project to work on. I suppose that Morgana's costumes have been very lovely to do.
Morgana tends to get all the, you know, the fancy dresses to wear.
So, for instance, this dress is probably one of my favourites.
Oh, absolutely, because if you see any of my costumes, I am the clothes horse of the show.
It's sort of like a combination of we've actually used quite modern fabrics, but sort of trimmed it up so it looks a bit more period, but it's sort of capturing that sort of slight fantasy look. And you know, Katie's obviously very beautiful, so hopefully that sort of works well.
Gwen? I have the most stunning costumes. Charlotte Mars has done a fantastic job, and when you put them on, I feel like a lady, because as you can see now, I don't tend to dress like that on a day-to-day basis. And you put it on and you feel like who you're supposed to be, and you're standing in a fantastic set, or when we're in France, we're in this beautiful castle, and I'm wearing the most stunning dress that you could wear to any award ceremony, and you could feel like a princess or a lady in it. And it helps undeniably to get into who you are supposed to be playing, you know, because you feel it as soon as you put it on.
And what kind of king would Camelot want? One that would risk his life to save that of a lowly servant?
I do have a favourite costume. We call it the dairy milk dress because it's a fantastic shade of purple. And it's just beautiful. Every time I put it on, I feel like a princess. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm kind of a bit miffed, though, that I don't have a crown. I think at some point I might get one.
Gwen just sort of turns up in a bit of a curtain that's sort of been fashioned into a dress. So I don't think she's too excited by a wardrobe. But it suits the character because she wouldn't be wearing, being a servant, she wouldn't be wearing anything like what Morgana wears.
Gwen has got a very distinct look. It's very different from Morgana. Morgana's outfits are much more sort of their silkenish chiffon. And Gwen's outfits, she's got a sort of a raw silk dress that's got embroidery on it. And the colours are very sort of strong, and hopefully they reflect her character as being, she's supposed to be very sunny.
The costumes on Merlin are all fantastic, I think. It's the lady who designed them's done an amazing job. Morgana's costumes are very elaborate. She's obviously, you know, a princess, so she gets to wear beautiful flowing dresses. My dresses are flattering, but probably not quite as exciting as hers. I only have at the moment a few dresses because obviously I'm a servant, so I wouldn't have like a huge wardrobe. But they're very flattering, and they're lovely to wear. You know, just dress up.
I've been very lucky in the past. I've worked on quite a lot of period things, but I think this one's particularly exciting because there's the opportunity. We've made everything, so there's a lot of scope. Because although it's period, we've mixed it up with, you know, modern looks, and you know, there's a little bit of fantasy in there. So really, the world's been my oyster. Really, I've had a lot of fun doing it.